Coach, thanks for the time. With Kenai Pepe, could he play right tackle this year?
Yeah, we're actually going to start him at right tackle in the spring. So, but the plan is to obviously work him at both tackles. As you guys saw this year, obviously that's something that helped us tremendously throughout the year was some flexibility from some guys and really try to cross-train everybody, at least at right and left side, if not multiple positions. But that's something that comes with time and with growth in the program, learning the offense. And so we'll be smart with that. But yeah, that's the plan as of right now is to start him at right.
Haley, OC Register. Having all 5 linemen back from last season, how huge is that for continuity?
Yeah, really important. We're really blessed, obviously, to have all 5 of those guys back. I'm really excited about the guys that are coming up underneath those guys too, because there's no set roster, right? I mean, every year you find the best 5 guys, and so. But I think that having the guys that are coming back in the program from last year, even if they were a red shirt or a younger player, having that depth to compete with each other and to push those guys that were the starters this year, I think is going to make everybody better. It's the old iron sharpens iron saying, so we're excited for that as well.
I remember after spring camp last year around, a few weeks from now, but we were talking to you and all the other assistant coaches, and the defensive line was getting a lot of flowers at the time. Everybody thought that was going to be a real big strength, and they played well last year, but sure. Your room kind of came out of nowhere, especially with all the injuries and all, shuffling the deck chairs every week. Did they actually outperform what you thought they were able to do?
No, I think they did a great job. I was probably one of the only people in the country that knew how good we actually could be, and I just believe in all those guys in that room. I know how hard they work and all that they put into it. Talking about that moving into this year too is, I talked to the guys about, man, we're not hiding from anybody this year. We're not going into any game where nobody knows who we are or what we're capable of, and so. Learning how to handle success now and handle being the guy with the target on your chest is what we need to get better at now. And we did a lot of really good things last year. We were nowhere near where we need to be in order to be a championship level team here. So we have a lot of room for growth, and I say that in a really positive way because we're very capable of it. Consistency has to go way up. Intensity, mentality, attacking people and not just getting guys covered up, but finishing people into the ground every single play, finishing our blocks every play, continuing to grow together as a group, chemistry-wise, all those things. If we want to be a championship team, that's the next step we're going to have to take. Yeah, I don't remember what the numbers were. It was something like 9 starting lineups in 13 games or something like that, and then a bunch more in between when guys would get hurt. Definitely unique. As an O-line coach, you've always had that happen at some point, but probably not that consistently. But I thought the guys did a really nice job of just finding a way to make it work. Obviously, having a guy like Tobias Raymond, I think he started at 3 or 4 spots. The versatility to be able to do that is pretty special and unique. But hopefully we'll be in a place where we can keep guys more stable this season.
Heading into the spring, could you take us into the center competition? Who's going to factor in? I know Killian's back and Willie's back. Who else is going to compete at center?
Well, speaking of Tobias, we're probably going to play him a little bit at center this spring, and really just to continue to develop him as a player. I think looking long term, just making sure that we're training him for something he potentially might be at the next level as well. But to build depth at that position as well. We brought Cannon Smith in this year. I think Cannon's going to be a really good player. He's young right now, but he's very smart. Comes from a really good program in Valor Christian and has a lot of the traits to be a really good guy at that spot as well. So, and I think Kalen Miller as well will be a guy that will continue to rep there and bring him along at that spot. I continue to forget that Kalen was a redshirt freshman this last year. And so the things that he was able to do were really impressive too. But, from a stature standpoint and all that, that's probably what fits him best. I compare him a lot to Willie Lampkin that came out of North Carolina last year, 2 years ago. Just a competitor, man, and really twitchy and strong and all the things that you want at that spot. So I think those 2 guys will be ones that'll factor in for sure.
He's so versatile, and he'll have to earn it. But is there a chance he could start the first game at center, or is that more of a in case you need him to be
There's
there?
always a possibility. I mean, like I said, it's a completely open depth chart. So, there's a long time before that happens. Fortunately for us, we get quite a few practices between now and then to kind of figure it out. But we'll see how it goes with it. He's been working on snapping for several years at this point, and we've repped him a little bit there in the past just to kind of see what all he was capable of. But excited to see him play it a little bit this spring.
Back here, Zach. Connor mentioned Pepe a little bit. What about his game is already like most developed, or where will he step in and immediately have an impact?
Man, I think a lot of it's just God-given talent. The Lord blessed him with some unbelievable gifts. He's a big, long, athletic guy that can really move for his size. I mean, he's 330 pounds without trying. You could tell he comes from a good program. He was coached well at IMG. For him and Brett Colajay, like both of those guys have a lot of reference to a lot of things we do. It's just what are we calling it versus what were they calling it. And there might be a little tweak here or there on something from a technique or fundamental standpoint that we're doing. But for the most part, man, I think both those guys are going to be really good players here in a really short amount of time.
You just mentioned Brett Colajay's name. Talk about his intensity and personality that he brings to that room.
Everything you see is as advertised. I mean, that was the biggest attraction to Breck from the jump for me, and I know for Coach Riley too. Is again like trying to take that next step as an offensive line and your intensity level on the field. Playing with that mentality of we're not just here to cover people up. We're here to hurt people, right? We're here to drive people in the ground and play like an elite O-line. So when you can recruit a guy like that has that naturally built into his DNA, it makes that part a lot easier.
The depth with this group speaks for itself. What's it like when you have returning starters who every year they got to earn their stripes, but this year especially, those guys are really going to have to earn their jobs? What does that do for the room, and how much pressure does that put on some of those guys in a good way?
Yeah, I think it puts great pressure on everybody, right? You got guy behind you breathing down your neck. It's going to push you to become a better player and really focus in on every little detail of your game. Where, this last year we had 6 or 7 guys probably at the end of the day, and then I grew a little bit as it got later, and some of the younger guys got a little experience. But I think that's going to push all these guys to be better, right? They're all dedicated guys. I don't know if I've been with a group that loves football more than this group. To be honest with you, they are into it. They love every aspect of it. They're in the film room. They're lifting hard. They're training. They're asking for extra stuff all the time, and they're really dialed in, and they're doing it together. And so that's exciting as a coach. I'm already looking ahead and going, man, I'm going to have some tough decisions to make, hopefully here, and I'm glad I'm making the tough decisions because that means we have a lot of guys that can play. But just kind of giving that message of, going into spring last spring, Justin Tanu wasn't the starting right tackle. He wasn't the starting right tackle in the start of fall camp either. That guy played 900 and something snaps for us, right? And same with Kalen Miller. Guy played a lot of games. Reed, all these guys that went in as the second guys or the 2 deep. They ended up playing 3/4 or maybe even the whole season. So you never know when your time's going to be, right? Train every single guy like you're going to be the guy, and getting them to buy into that, invest in that.
Coach, Skylar Jones stepped up, more important role, defensive tackles. Coach, what have you seen from him? What's impressed you about him the last couple of years?
Man, fired up for him, first of all, and well-deserved. The guy's a great coach, great recruiter, great relationship builder. I think those 3 things are really important. I think he's a great relationship builder with the players, and any good coach knows you got to get the guys first, right? You got to get them here and here before they do anything for you on the field. And I think he's got that. He got to learn from Henny for several years and coach with Henny, and amongst other places. I think he's a really good technician. I think he knows how to get the guys fired up to play really hard for him. And I think pairing him with Coach Newell will be a great match, just like Henny and Newell were. So I think those guys will play really well off each other.
Coach, back here. We saw Aaron Dunn going before the Iowa game. We saw him going through a workout by himself in the rain, and Tobias Freeman said that's something that he usually does. That is pretty normal. Kind of, what can you say about his work ethic?
Yeah, tremendous worker. I mean, you go to any of these off-season runs, he's the guy at the head of the pack. I mean, he wins everything, and he's like a real quiet competitor. He's more of a reserved, quiet kid. But he also, I found out, is kind of a football nerd. Like, he loves like technique and fundamental work and like working at his craft. And it's kind of hard to tell with some of those guys when they're a little more reserved because they're not right in your face asking you questions all the time. But he definitely is a guy that focuses on A, working hard, and he prides himself on that, but B, also really perfecting all the little details of his craft. And he's a guy that you tell him something one time and he's out there working it all day, you know, and so that I was really happy to see him come back with us because that dude is a very talented kid, really good kid, and I think he's going to be a really good player for us.
Elijah Vicona obviously has a lot of physical skills, that's clear, but how have you seen his game just develop and sharpen over the course of this last year?
Yeah, I think it was really important for him to be down with us on the one field, if you want to call it that, right? He was with the two group, but he was learning how we install, learning how, you know, in season works when you're in the two deep. You know, there's positives to both being down with the scout team and being with us up there. I think he grew a lot just from like mental understanding of the game, big picture things, how to attack certain opponents. He again is another one like Aaron that's really dialed into wanting to be great at his craft and really working at it. And he asks great questions, very smart kid. Like, he asks unbelievable questions in the film room, on the field. He always wants to learn how to get better. But yeah, the physical tools and all that are there. And man, he's another one that works extremely hard.